We run the John Fredericks Media Network and the John Fredericks Radio apps. I'm your Godzilla of the truth in America. Great to have you with us. Doug Mastriano coming up. The Colonel is next. We got Iran. We've got Shapiro scamming $2 million. What's that all about? Looks like things aren't going well in the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. So we're going to be talking about that with the Colonel. Meantime, March is coming. And when March comes, you got two things going on. Number one, my birthday, March 12th, so everybody knows. Just throw it out there. You say, you want to give me something for my birthday? It's fine. It's good. It's great. Thank you. All you got to do is go to my website and make a donation to my campaign. That's all you got to do, right? Just go to makedcgreat.com, makedcgreat.com, and there's my birthday present right there. You can donate to my campaign. Maximum donation here, $200. So I'm not going to break the bank. You guys are good, right? So just want to throw that out there. March 12th, 13th, and 14th. The other great thing about March, other than my birthday and other than baseball is coming, guess what else? It's spring meet at Colonial Downs and the Virginia Derby on Saturday, March 14th. That is so exciting. I love this spring meet. It's only 3 days. Be there or be square in Colonial Downs. Most beautiful racetrack in America. And you know what's even better about a Virginia Derby on the 14th? The winner of the Derby, boom, straight. They go straight. Go one-way ticket to Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby. Let's go. Now, the spring meet is March 12th, 13th, and 14th. That's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Highlighted by the Virginia Derby, March 14th. Tickets on sale now. All you got to do is go to ticketmaster.com/Colonial Downs. Now, you want to join us Saturday, March 14th for the Virginia Derby. This is a full day of thrilling races. Live entertainment, music, more. Gates open 10:30. First post noon. Say, oh, that's expensive. No, parking is free. Plenty of parking. It's free. General admission tickets, $5. What? They're giving it away. $5. Can't beat it. Children under 5, free. Come and check us out. We're going to have sunshine and warm weather. It's going to be great for the Virginia Derby. And all you have to do is go to colonialdowns.com for more information. Colonialdowns.com. This is the thing to do. You want to be there. We're going to have a suite probably on Friday. All good, but good to have you with us as always. Joining me now, the one and only Colonel Doug Mastriano. Colonel, we got a lot to talk about. What they say, so much to talk about, so little time. So let's get right to, we're looking right now with the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier steaming towards the Mediterranean, the Persian Gulf. We're looking at what has been called the biggest naval military armada in one place in the history of the globe. That's like the world forever. That's a lot of ships out there, and aircraft carriers and planes and subs and boats and what? I mean, are we just doing this? Is this like a military exercise, or should the Ayatollah be shaking in his boots?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we have the Gerald R. Ford there. We have the Abraham Lincoln there. And this is about 200 naval aircraft, not including Air Force aircraft in the region, John. And, it's interesting to me because, we debated whether Donald Trump would order a bombing of Iran as a result of their killing of more than 10,000, maybe 30,000 people during the protests. The assets and resources are now in the region to do that. I think there's two things. Number one is to force the Ayatollahs to the table to give concessions on a nuclear program. Number two, if they don't, and if they continue killing people during this unrest, which continues, by the way, in Iran, then they're going to be bombed. I have a master's degree in air power from the Air University at Maxwell Air Force Base. And the way it's going to happen is going to be a decapitation campaign. It's going to go after the leadership in Iran. It's going to go after their communication, command and control centers across the nation, and go after their security apparatus as well. So taking out their police stations and security apparatus, especially those of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards.
So then what?
Well, then it puts the power back in the hands of the people. I do not see boots on the ground because we'd be pre-positioning people, soldiers in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. That's not happening. We're not seeing large numbers of Army units like the 82nd Airborne and others going forward. I was, as a intel officer in the Army for 30 years, I always played the enemy commander when we had war games. And, I participated in an exercise as a leading Iranian commander on the ground here, and it's not Iraq. It's different terrain. We have the Zargos Mountains there, which are very defensible. So I think it's a good plan not to plan on boots on the ground, because it would be worse than Iraq. It would be a huge commitment of personnel and resources. We're talking about 500,000 to 1 million soldiers on the ground here, not sustainable. I do understand, because we've been involved. The United States has been involved with regime change in Iraq with Saddam Hussein, and that ended pretty badly. And so, because you never know what's on the other side, you destabilize a country. But would we have anything worse than the Ayatollahs in Iran? And
No.
I really don't think so.
No. It's like you can't have anything worse than Maduro in Venezuela,
Yeah.
right? There's no, I mean, the vice president there, who's still a communist, at least you can have a conversation with her. So, I think that they did the right thing there in stabilizing the government, and hopefully the next election Venezuela will be honest, and Maduro will win. But just let's get to what this will look like. So, bombing, they take out the whatever nuclear stuff they still have, they take out the Ayatollah. What do we do? Do we then parachute in, so to speak, the Shah's son? I mean, what happens? Like, I mean, you want regime change. You don't want to be doing it yourself. You don't want to install your own government. You don't want a puppet government. You just want the Iranian people to decide. So, okay, you take the Ayatollah out, and I'm still trying to figure out. Then then for a period of time they have no leader. Then what happens?
Yeah, that's the danger. So, you get up to the brink of war, and then once you start shooting, it's an uncertain outcome. The Shah, I actually, for one of my master's degree, I actually did a research project on the Shah and the fall of his regime, and then the rise of the Ayatollah, who was actually in exile in France. Really, come on, France, really? What the heck were you doing? Hiding this fanatical leader and returning him to Iran. So the bombing starts. The Ayatollah Khamenei, he flees to Russia. He already has a plan in place there, apparently. And then the Shah, it's going to be up to him. We would facilitate that. He would arrive in Tehran, and we're hoping people would rally around him. I think they will, mostly because of how they've been treated for the past since 1979. We've all seen online the photos of Iran before the rise of these radical zealots, and it was a very sophisticated modern country, and now they've been oppressed and thrown back to the dark ages. So I do believe the Shah's son will be embraced largely if that happens.
Well, we thought people would get embraced before, and it's not happened. I mean, I'm in favor of taking him out, so we're on the same page here. But we also have to be sober about this.
Yeah.
And with no military, I mean, how can we be sure that he will indeed take the reins of government? Because they still have their own factions there. They still got their Republican Guard or whatever it's called. How do we know that one of those generals will just not take over?
Well, you don't, unless you have your fingers on it. I'm not so sure. I no longer have a top secret security clearance. I can't tell you what's going. I wouldn't be able to tell you anyway.
Right.
I don't know what's going on the ground there, with human sources. But the Ayatollahs have done a fantastic job alienating their people, and I'm sure there's many defectors in the military and in the political leadership here that want change. Killing up to 30,000 of your own people for protests here. This is a big deal. This is huge. I see every day online pictures of mostly beautiful young people, under arrest or having been killed already by the regime. And if the regime starts executing these people, willy-nilly, Donald Trump will unleash hell upon them. So, as far as a Shah, will he be embraced? I mean, it's a gamble. We've seen under the Bush administration in 2003, that the foolish mistakes made of anyone involved with Saddam Hussein's government could no longer serve in the government. And so that triggered the insurgency that we faced after that. This is a completely situation because we're not going to invade. I don't think we're going to invade. I don't think we're going to put boots on the ground here. It's just too uncertain. You will enable the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, Corps to rally against a common enemy here. If we keep it hands off, if we keep it in the hands of the people here, there will be unrest. There will be a lot of deaths on the ground here. But in the end, it will stabilize and hopefully into a more modern, sophisticated, and rational government rather than these zealots here that are running the government here into the ground.
Are you in favor of this?
Yeah, I really am, because we've watched over I don't know what's up with the Democrat Party. Biden and Obama releasing billions of dollars back into the Iranian hands. Are the worst enemy in the region, the most anti-American nation probably in the world, backing terrorist groups, backing Hezbollah, backing Hamas, which not only just attack Israel but also attack American interests around the world. Backing the unrest in Yemen. It's time for change, and they've destabilized the country. They're responsible for probably millions of deaths around the world, especially in the region. And it is time for action.
I agree with you. I mean, I was opposed to all these wars. Everybody knows that. I was opposed to going into Iraq. I was opposed to, Desert Storm, Desert this, shock and awe. I was opposed to all this stuff. I knew it wouldn't work out. So, it's our kids end up dying. But in this situation, I mean, you got to get rid of this Ayatollah. You just got to take a shot and get this government out, because I think for the long term, health of the world. And people say, oh, well, John, that's not America first. You're going back on, your core values. I think it's totally America first, because, once you take them out, guess what? Between Venezuela and Iran, China's only getting 33% of the oil that they were getting.
That's right.
How do you run a country like that size with 35% of the oil? They're in big trouble. And same thing with Putin. So, peace around the world is in our best interest, especially when we're controlling the oil reserve. So I don't really buy the argument that this is not America first, Doug. I think it's actually the opposite of that. I think it is America first.
So on this day in 1991, I was in Saudi Arabia. Well, actually, I was in Iraq, and the ground war began on this day in 1991. My regiment, the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment, actually entered Iraq the day before the ground war, the 23rd of February 1991, to lead the main attack against Saddam Hussein's Iraqi Republican Guard. I call them the bad Republicans. So, and it was a big battle. It was. I'm only alive because of prayers. People prayed for us. I had my wife Rebbe had 20 some churches praying for my regiment. We didn't lose one man. It was an all male unit, and it was a miracle. But you're right. As I get older, John, having been to Iraq and Afghanistan and fighting losing wars here, I become more and more of a pacifist in my older days, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna put the lives of our sons and daughters on the line here, you have to have a clear strategy. At least in Desert Storm, we had a clear strategy. It was limited. It wasn't to occupy all of Iraq. We sent 750,000 American soldiers and airmen and Marines and sailors to the region here. We did it right. But you have to have a plan, a strategy. And I think this with Iran will be similar in that it's going to be a very focused and narrow strategy. It'll be an air campaign largely. It's going to bring them down economically and politically. And I'm thankful that you mentioned the bigger picture. So you zoom out, and now you have China. China has relied upon Iran and Venezuela to enrich itself, to keep its economy going. And without Venezuela, they're in a bad shape. And without Iran, economically, they can be crippled. And so it puts America in a very powerful position globally.
Go back to that tank battle that you mentioned a couple of times on your first incursion in. How fierce was the Iraqi army at the time and their tanks? I mean, was that a fierce battle? Were they equipped properly? Did they fight bravely? What was your experience with that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So my regiment led the. We came out of Germany, so the Cold War ended just a few months before, and we found ourselves called up and sent to Saudi Arabia, and we were told you'd be here for a year. We don't know how long this is going to last. Kiss your wives goodbye kind of thing. And so my unit was assigned to lead the Armored Corps, 7th Corps. We were trained to fight the Soviets out of Germany and to attack Saddam Hussein's Republican Guard. And my regiment led the main attack for the first 82 hours of the ground war. So we're out front, streaming ahead like we were cavalry, just like cavalry of old in the old John Wayne movies. And we engaged with the Iraqi Republican Guards, and it was a fierce tank battle. And we were advancing against the Republican Guard on the 26th or 26th, 27th of February 1991. And we sent in Air Force F-16s to pick off tanks, but there was hundreds of them. We sent an artillery ahead of us. My regiment, my squadron, 4th Squadron, 2nd Cav, I was Aviation Squadron, Air Cav. And we screened ahead of our tanks about 10 kilometers in front, and we were engaged in the Iraqi tanks. And then as we're doing a battle handover, we were told to get out of the way so none of our tanks would shoot us down. And as my regiment's tanks were advancing, suddenly God brought in this shamal, a sandstorm with thunder and lightning. It just rolled in at the exact second the helicopters left and the tanks came in. And it blinded the Iraqis. They had modern Soviet tanks. They had thermal imaging systems similar to ours from Yugoslavia. But God blinded them. And that storm came in at the exact minute, 1 minute of us pulling off and the tank battle began. It blinded them. One of the Iraqi lieutenants we captured after the battle, he was a tank commander. He said he's watching through his thermals and suddenly his scope went blank and he could see flashes. It was our tanks shooting at him about a mile away. And tanks all around him blew up and they were returning fire at the flashes, but our tanks were shooting on the move. And so his rounds were landing behind the tanks and in front of our Bradleys. So we had our Abrams tanks out front, so our Bradleys behind doing scratching fire because the Iraqis were coming out of the trenches and jumping on our tanks trying to destroy them. And so our Bradleys were shooting machine guns basically at the Iraqis on our tanks. It was a fierce battle, but I can only say it was a miracle by God that we broke the back of the Iraqi center of gravity, the Republican Guards. We were outnumbered like 5-1. The Iraqis had the Talakana mechanized division there, 12th Iraqi Armored Division, the 10th Iraqi Armored Division, 17th Armored Brigade, all fighting against my one regiment. And so it was because so many people prayed. Remember, the yellow ribbons went up, pray for our troops and all that. And God did answer those prayers.
So, a lot of the stories we got in the media was that the Iraqi defenses were garbage and, the fighters were running away and, surrendering with their underwear and things of that nature. But you're telling a very different story, that first battle, they fought fiercely and they had mechanized equipment that, if it didn't rival ours, was close, right?
Yeah, so the frontline troops that the Marines and others faced and the Arabs faced in Kuwait, they were the ones that surrendered. They were, ethnic minorities. They didn't like Saddam Hussein. They gave up quickly. But we fought his most reliable, his most dedicated, his most well-trained soldiers, the Republican Guard. During that tank battle, the Iraqi 12th Armored Division actually did a counterattack into the rear of my regiment. So 12th Iraqi Armored Division did an attack against our rear, and we had several kilometers gap between us and the 1st British Armored Division, the 1st U.S. Armored Division, and the 1st U.S. Infantry Division. There was this gap, and the Iraqis, it was brilliant, John. They got behind us, attacked our regimental support squadron. I was in a Black Hawk since I was, Air Cav, and we got this call from the regimental support squad, and they were under attack. And all of our units, all of our tanks were forward in this major battle, the Battle of 73rd Easting that the Army studies constantly, the largest last tank battle of the last century. And so we were airborne, and we responded, and we flew into a trap. The Iraqis engaged us at point blank range. There was 9 of us in the Black Hawk. I'm taking pictures out of the left door gunner's window. And I click the picture, and then I see all these Iraqi armored vehicles on this ridge, and they're shooting at us point blank range. And God protected us. And we had Cobras that came in from my squadron as well. It was the only reserves we had in the regiment, and we had like 3 Cobras, and they came out and eliminated those Iraqis. But they fought to the end. They fought when there was no more. When they realized that there was no more hope. Only then would they give up.
And the commanders that you captured and interrogated, did they have a clue?
Yeah, they did. There's lots of myths out there. Like people say that my Corps, 7th Corps, surprised the Iraqis, hit them in the rear. No, they were lined up. They were dug in. They're waiting for us. They said when my Corps attacked them, more than 1,000 tanks. When the rest of the reserves got up, with us, the ground was shaking. They could not explain away how we broke their ranks, and I could just tell them. I could look them in the eye and say it was God's intervention. We had people praying back in the States, and I was there. It was not our technology or our tactics that won the day. It was just divine intervention.
Interesting. I love these stories because it helps our audience really understand the horrors of what we're up against. Because we're kind of looking at the Iranians the same way. Well, they talk a good game, but Israel took their air defenses out in a day and a half, so they have no air defense, right? So they don't look as formidable as the New York Times says they are. So I'm just trying to get a feel for it. We got a couple more minutes. Josh Shapiro, your governor, he spent like $2 million or something on renovations of his residence. Where'd that money come from?
Josh Shapiro has this growing stack of scandals, John, and it's if this was a Republican, there would be breathless reporting by the Inquirer and Penn Live. But since it's a Democrat, they give lots of grace and mercy, and they ignore these stories. So Josh Shapiro spent millions of dollars on his private house, not the governor's mansion, which is taxpayer funded and rightly so. Should be, any construction should be funded from the taxpayers. But Josh Shapiro's, put up a cedar fence on his property, and there was so much outrage that he took it down. Now he's encroached on his neighbor's land. The neighbors are a family called the Mocks. They're suing him because Josh Shapiro has abused his power. Imagine living in a nice house in Montgomery County outside of Philadelphia. And now you have the state police showing up, who protect Josh Shapiro, and demanding access to their private property, building things on their private property, and so they're suing him. And then on top of all this, John, in addition to spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money on his private property, and by the way, I was told by the state police when they protected me during the last month and a half of the campaign that any improvements to my property, my house, because there would have to be improvements for security, but if I'm going to keep those improvements, I'd have to pay for them out of pocket. Oh, yeah, of course I would, clearly, because this is not my money. But Josh Shapiro is abusing his power, and he's taking private jets now. He goes on a book tour to New York, to New Jersey, and Washington D.C., and he has taxpayer-funded security, state police, taxpayer-funded vehicles and aircraft flying him for his book tour. So he's making money now for political campaign events. And then on top of all this, here we're finding out that some of his major donors, like Reid Hoffman, are close associates of Epstein. Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn guy, the guy who founded LinkedIn, Silicon Valley guy, has donated about $2 million to Josh Shapiro. And he's mentioned 2,658 times in the Epstein files. And I told you last time, I get it. You don't have time to vet all your donors, but your big donors, you do. At one time I had a $500 donor, the Penn Live or somebody, or Inquirer or some rag. This guy is anti-Semitic, and I returned the money. Norfolk Southern gave me $500 or something. I didn't know that. I returned the money. It's simple as that. But there's no outrage by the media for Josh Shapiro receiving about $2 million from a close associate of the world's most renowned sex trafficker, Epstein. So come on, guys. Shapiro needs to return the money. He needs to stop wasting taxpayer dollars on his house. And that the guy is clearly unfit for office.
Scandal after scandal. He's running for president. I know, right? I haven't heard a lot from the Stacey Garrity campaign lately. What's going on?
I got to be honest, I'm not really paying close attention here. I do hear a lot from the grassroots. You had Ernie call in last week here with the writing campaign. I don't know. I mean, she's going to have to work a bit harder to get the grassroots behind her. Yeah, the grassroots is disillusioned because of the early endorsement here. I
mean, she's got such potential.
I know.
It's like, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I've asked her on my show, she's always busy. I mean, you're not busy at 6 a.m. I don't care what you're doing. I understand you got to get up and make yourself up, but she's a colonel. She's accustomed to getting up in the morning. But I just want to see a little, because if you get her out there, I keep telling the people she's a compelling woman. I mean, she's compelling, and she is grassroots, and she's 100% MAGA. But now they got her wrapped up again. This is what they do. Consultants got her wrapped up, and they got her wrapped up in cellophane, and everything is like measured. I mean, just go out there and bounce around and be Stacey Garrity and get people fired up. That's the Stacey Garrity I know. But the consultants took charge of her campaign. I got a guy in her campaign that I won't talk to. Like, I banned him. Like, wow. If you want to deal with me, I will not deal with that guy. Nice enough guy, but I'm like too old for that nonsense. I'm too old for nonsense, Doug. So she had to assign somebody else as my handler. I got my own handler in her case. What do you think
That's
about
impressive.
that? I got an assigned handler.
Oh, John, you have to you have to earn the vote of the grassroots. And if you're going to distance yourself from them in the primary, especially, I don't see how there's a victory in November. And, I want her to win in November, but you've got to earn the votes. You can't dodge media like John Fredericks, who has access to the White House, who's there every day.
Come on, man. She should be on the show it should be like, okay, but see, the consultants won't do it, right? But it should be like, okay, I got to get a weekly hit. So let's get a day and a time. Let's like Doug, right? 9 o'clock on, what is it, Monday. Let's get a weekly hit. If you can't make it, you can't make it.
John, if you're amenable to it, I'll offer her my time slot that you so graciously offer me every week.
She'll never take it. No, the consultants have put her in a cocoon again. I mean, and these are the same guys that lose election after election. The Republican consultant class is the inverse of capitalism. It's the inverse. The more you lose, the more money you make. I've never seen anything like it. Lose races and you get hired by somebody, you get more money. I mean, she'll probably hire the guys that ran the Winsome Sears campaign and got beat by 15 points. She'll put them in charge. Joe, come on, Stacy. But I do have my own handler, so I'm proud of that, right? I got a special handler just to manage me. I have arrived, Doug.
You're on top of the tech, brother.
I'm on top of the Stacy Garrity food chain. I have an assigned handler to deal with me. That's pretty heady, Doug. One day you too might have your own handler. Oh, you do, your wife. That's right. Forgot that. We're in the same boat.
I don't know what to say, man. You gotta earn the vote. It's the primary. Come on.
Rebby should be my handler. Rebby, if you're listening to this, you should be my handler for Doug. Then I know I would have. I died and went to heaven.
I know.
Okay, Doug. People want to follow Doug. It's a very difficult handle. It's at Doug Mastriano. Very confusing.
I know.
At Doug Mastriano. Very, very creative. It's like the John Fredericks Show. People say, what's the name of your network? John Fredericks Media Network. Really creative. And came up with it. Brilliant.
I love it.
All right, I got to go. I got Paul Teller. I got Rabbi Mencken. Is it like they're waiting for this incursion to come, whatever you want to call it? Get rid of the Ayatollah. They're next. Doug, thanks for being with us, as always. You one day, too, could have your own handler.
It might happen.
I'll be right back.